being a photographer has been sort of a dream job for me. For a country boy, who was raised in a, sort of a, how it is, a cloistered environment. And, I have this really distinct memory as a child that something that stuck with me throughout my life. When I was a kid, I spent a lot of time at my grandparents' house, and they had this back pasture. And if you look south, sort of southeast, or sort of southwest actually, you could see the Tulsa skyline, this little sliver of Tulsa skyline on the horizon. And I just remember, at sunset, kind of looking that direction and thinking like, man, there's a lot of world out there, and I want to find out about it. I want to know what it's like. I sort of, was restless about my place in the world. As like a lot of us probably in the audience today, I know for a fact that our vision of the outside world is really painted by media. We learn about the world in the pages of National Geographic, which is one of my favorites, of course, and like news programs, press photos, 30-minute news television programs like that sort of romanticize the traveler experiencing a strange new land, But I knew something when I was younger. I knew something was missing. I didn't quite put it together, but as I grew older, I realized that, I realized how the industries of publishing and broadcast worked. In fact, our view of the outside world was really directed by the process of editing. Okay, and you know what editing is. It's the basis of storytelling. What that is we show the interesting parts, and we keep it short. We don't want to show anything too shocking. These crazy, rituals in the Amazon that we don't understand, or we don't want to make it mundane, like carrying water. But but I guess what I realized is that I was seeing the world through the eyes of a tourist. And the idea of a tourist was kind of negative, really. Like I just see this American person like strolling along the beach, in their resort with a camera on their neck, wagging as they walked, and they we take these pictures when we're, I'm guilty of it as well. We take these pictures when we're on vacation, and it's like, we're sitting in our lounge chair with the beach in the background. We've got our margarita in the foreground and our painted toenails, not mine, in the back, right behind it. And we have this sort of a view of the outside world. Of course, we want to explore the outside world too. We look at the locals. We want to go and check out the local life and stuff, but we end up looking at them like they're zoo exhibits, like we're on safari. We're looking through the tour bus windows, but a lot of our world is actually edited when we're on vacation. Our world is edited by real estate developers. You know what I mean? So editing is basically the main thing that influences our perception of the world. Well, that wasn't me, right? I had more to offer the world as a photographer. I didn't want to be your typical tourist. I didn't want to do the same things. Not that I haven't, but I thought I had a more nuanced view of the world. But I got a chance to test that worldview when my friends at Topeka Coffee. A lot of you may know Topeka. They're based here in Tulsa, but their farm is in El Salvador, and I got the invitation from them to come and photograph at the farm. And it was an amazing opportunity, as you could imagine. I've been a couple times. The landscape is shaped by volcanoes over centuries, and the inclines are like really steep. It's crazy. But really what interested me were these folks that worked there. And I had this idea. I wanted to test out that view, like I can really get inside these folks' world, And I made heroic portraits of these laborers, these employees of the farm. Like Winston Slough. He's got the dust of the coffee parchment on his hair, but he's got this warm feeling in his eyes. And I thought, they've got so much to teach me about life, because they've got a different perspective on life. They could teach me about the importance of family, the way their families function. They're very big groups, I was wanting to learn certain things from them, I saw these big hands that were, large from years of labor, like cupping these, beautiful ripe cherries. And these proud eyes, I think this is Juan. He's got a hoe in one hand and a machete in the other, and he's standing at attention, he's got his camo hat on, which is like a little bit of a nod to the revolutionary period in El Salvador. And so I learned these lessons, I learned the importance of family. I learned the things that I wanted to learn, like how working with your hands can give you a greater satisfaction. And how the comforts of the modern world don't lead to happiness, But I learned other things too. I learned about myself. I started noticing myself, okay? I was walking. It was the end of the day on a harvest day. That's when I went during the harvest. And I saw this picture of this mom, and with this giant basket of cherries balanced on her head, and perfectly ripe. Her son was walking beside her, but I missed the shot. I missed it. And I went back and I asked her to please do that again. Like I put her in the exact spot in the road. And I directed every single detail. I noticed how the workers were just so tired after being out there all day, And I was, in retrospect, I noticed it because I was too busy, like, putting them in the correct positions and, like, lighting it just right, And the mom's, like, a little bit ticked off at me here, Like, but I noticed myself. I noticed that no matter what I did with my infantile level of Spanish, with my zero understanding of their background, their culture, I could never, ever be one of them. What I had hoped was just not possible. What I thought, what I could do was just wasn't possible. So what I realized is that I was a tourist. I was flat out a tourist. I was worse than a tourist, okay? I was actually creating the situations. I was directing every detail. I was a tourist on steroids, right? It was disconcerting, as you can would imagine, like with this person with this naive worldview. But every picture we take actually is an opinion. The angle, we were talking about the pictures when you're on vacation. Like, what does that say about you? You think it's so innocuous. You think there's no subject matter there, but you're actually conveying opinion. You're conveying your perspective on the world, and as a tourist, you have this privileged view of the world, right? Like, you choose to take this, composition, your click, of this particular subject with this particular composition. But it's not without bias. And I was really worried. I was like, God, my world is shattered. I'm not a journalist. Like, nothing is true. But I realized that is my style, okay? That is what I have to offer. I am a control freak, okay? I orchestrate every detail of every photo that I show people, down to the, we found a pile of rubble and used that, every single detail. That's how I control the world. That's how I control. And I want to talk about cultures, like every culture, no matter whether they're El Salvadoran or they're demolition derby drivers. I'm not one of them either, and I never will be. I try as I may. I grew up in the garage of my grandpa, who was like a master mechanic, and I didn't learn a dang thing. But these guys, I wanted to be a part of them, but I just couldn't, right? Like, I'm a Cherokee citizen, something I'm really proud of. But I've come to realize that I'm not going to pretend that I know what they're going through. I don't pretend to have the worldview that they have. All I can do is portray people in the way that I want to portray them, the way, from my viewpoint, from my opinion, right? And what I do is I create heroes out of my subjects. Whether they're a high-powered CEO or a governor, or the world's greatest basketball player, inarguably, okay? Or like a centurion. Ina Kay, I think, turned 102 this year. She's a hero, Or a religious leader. Or a World War II veteran who fought at D-Day. Or a pop star. They have a different culture. They live in a bubble that I will never be able to understand. I can throw glitter at them, okay? I will never understand them. That's just the way it is. Unfortunately, or fortunately, whether they're a musician, I like to take a piece of a person's identity and extrapolate it and create a scene around it and create my opinion of who they are, right? Whether they're a demolition derby driver, he lost. Or ranchers on the, in Mesa country. She doesn't wear shoes. She is tougher than me. Or a nun who has saved the lives of thousands of young girls in Uganda. Sister Rosemary. So that's what I do. That one gets me. I make heroes out of people, and I would encourage you guys, I've given up on changing the world directly, but I figured out what my contribution is. I can show people the hero that's inside them, and I can plant this little seed inside them. And hopefully, when I show them that picture, they will see it too, okay? And I would encourage you all to show others the power you see in them, because I think maybe that's the way we change the world. All right.